Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is responding to what can fairly be described as scathing testimony from a former Facebook employee who called the company morally bankrupt. Whistleblower Frances Haugen told a Senate panel yesterday that Facebook's own research shows that it profits from stoking anger and division. Also, that Instagram can be harmful to teenagers. In a Facebook post last night, Zuckerberg defended his company, writing, "At the heart of these allegations is this idea that we prioritize profit over safety and well-being. That's just not true." Joining us now is Facebook's global head of safety, Antigone Davis. Antigone, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Consequential morning. Mark Zuckerberg says the company is being mischaracterized. And let's go to the heart of the allegation, which is that what's good for Facebook is bad for teen girls, bad for democracy, and bad for America. What does the company say to that?
Well, I think fundamentally that the characterization of the research and of the work that we do was just off. I've worked at Facebook for 7 years. We have 40,000 people dedicated to these issues. We spent $13 billion in the last 5 years on these issues. We care deeply about it, and people are safe and secure on our platform.
Antigone, I think the question is about the business model, though. And just to put that $13 billion investment in context, that's what you've spent on safety and security. That is a single-digit fraction of what the company has taken in over that time period. And you spent a lot more on marketing and sales. So that's the core business concern. And to that point, when you guys talk to investors and make financial filings to the federal government, like your 10K report here, you talk about engagement being the top priority, engagement and user growth. Are you telling me now that you're amending that that's no longer the priority?
Well, so let me touch on the business model, because I think that it's a very short-sighted description of how we do business. We put people first. We want people to have a positive experience on our platform. If we build a platform that is filled with hate, that is not going to actually keep people interested, and it's not something people are going to want to come to. People come to Facebook to share with their photos of their family and friends. They come to Facebook to build their small business. If it's filled with hate, they're not going to do that, and our advertisers aren't going to come back either.
But Antigone, respectfully, all the available research publicly and what we know about the research you guys have internally is that engagement, which is the key business for Facebook, comes primarily and most easily from misinformation, divisive content. To give you just one example, NYU researchers found that misinformation recently on Facebook gets 6 times the engagement than accurate information. So how can you say that you don't profit off of some of this harmful content?
So the way our algorithm works in your news feed is based on the things that are of interest to you. So what the things that you engage with. That said, we actually also have within our systems things that actually suppress things like clickbait, things that are divisive. So I think that just fundamentally is a simplification of the way that our news feed works.
This is key here, because when you talk to investors and you file things with the SEC, you say, in fact, one of the key risks to your business is anything that deprioritizes engagement and user growth in the short term. Are you amending this now? Are you saying that your algorithm is going to prioritize good feelings first, not engagement by any means?
Actually, to give you an example of the work that we've done, we made some adjustments to our algorithm to get people engaged in more meaningful social interactions. And we did that knowing that it would reduce the amount of time that people spent on our platform. It did, in fact, do that by 50 million hours a day. But in the long term, that's a better experience, and that's actually better for business.
So just so people are crystal clear here, though, what is better financially for Facebook? If I spend an extra 30 minutes of happy engagement, or if I spend an extra 2 hours in a bitter political argument?
I would say the first, for sure.
Antigone, you speak of this algorithm, and I wanted to read what teen girls told Facebook in a survey, and this is in a disclosure Haugen gave to Congress. Quote, "I keep looking at these images after getting off Instagram. I don't know. Sometimes I just don't eat or try to eat less. I wish I had the money to get my nose or other body parts fixed. When I keep looking at these pictures, I feel like I am too big or not pretty enough." So what do you say to parents like myself, raising an 11-year-old daughter who has to wonder, is her spirit, her self-esteem being fractured every single time she logs on?
Well, I'm also a parent. I've raised a teenage daughter and have been a teenage girl and actually have taught middle school and teenage girls. And there it is a hard place to be a teenager when it comes to body image in this world, and in particular in the United States. And we did this research to try to understand where it is that we may see that intersection of a societal issue on our platform and what can we do better. So, for example, we actually, if someone searches for eating disorder content on our platform, we actually pop up resources to help them get support. We don't allow the promotion of that kind of content on our platform. We work with a set of eating disorder experts to help us figure out how to do this best. And what's really interesting in that research, which didn't get talked about, is that many teens actually find, in fact, 2 out of 3 actually find that they are able to get more help or their support through their engagement on Instagram. And what we want to do is understand the difference between the people who come to the platform suffering and find it worse from those who find it better. And I'll give you an example of a very specific thing that teens actually shared with us. So they indicated that when they see content about somebody's journey to recovery or uplifting content, that actually can be helpful to them. So we're presently working on something called nudges, where we would, if we see someone perhaps going down a path that is negative, a negative experience, we actually will nudge them towards that uplifting content.
You know, Antigone, listen, no one watching Frances Haugen speak would think that Facebook would say, God, I'm glad she's speaking up. Thank you so much. We appreciate what you're saying here. But I do wonder if all of you at Facebook thought that she raised any issues that made you think we need to reconsider how we do some things. Frances Haugen was very credible, she seemed very powerful, seemed to know exactly what she was talking about. She told 60 Minutes and Scott Pelley that she came with the kids called receipts. She made copies of over 10,000 pieces of evidence because she said she wanted to make sure that nobody could refute or dispute what she was saying. So my question is, did she raise any issues that has you all thinking we need to do things a little differently around here?
Well, I actually work on the teams that care about these particular issues. And those are the teams that are actually doing that research and looking at these issues. We care very much about people having a positive experience, people feeling safe, and actually their well-being being supported on our platform. So the issues that she raised are actually issues that we talk about internally to come up with product changes. So all this is done as directional research to identify how we can make sure that people are having a positive experience. But
she made it clear, though, Antigone, that what you're doing is not enough. What you're doing is not enough. She even made a point of saying, look, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg is a bad guy. I don't think he intended to hurt people. But what you're doing is absolutely, according to her, and the research and the evidence that she presented, is not enough.
Well, what struck me actually about the hearing and about the presentation is she showed all these different documents, and then she never spoke to the product changes and the product things that we've done in relation to those documents. And that was actually what was incredibly disheartening to me and to the thousands of people who work on this at Facebook. There's a different story to tell if you look at the product changes. So I'll give another example of this. There was evidence given around suicide and suicide prevention and issues of people who come to our platform who are struggling with those issues. Facebook has invested more than any other tech company in this issue. More than that, we've actually put together a reporting flow for people who dedicated to this issue. If you go to report this content, you can immediately connect with someone who's a crisis response provider.
Clearly, we need more time for this. I know everybody wants regulation, including Facebook. We'll see.
And we want to know what that regulation would be.
Would look like, yeah.
And it's not. No one is saying that Facebook has malevolent actors inside or is doing nothing. It's the question is the business model itself fundamentally a problem, and does that need to change? We hear you on the subject. We wait to hear more from Congress, and we'd love to have you back. Antigone Davis, thank you very much.
Thank you.